The big meeting room on the space station was full of strange sounds and smells. Aliens from dozens of worlds sat around tables that curved in a giant circle. Their voices mixed together as computer systems tried to turn their words into something everyone could understand. Some aliens looked like tall birds with bright feathers. Others had skin like rocks or moved like liquid in glass containers. Jake Morrison sat at the human table and tried not to show how angry he was getting. His face looked calm, but inside he wanted to hit something. Next to him, Dr. Lisa Carter kept looking through her computer tablets. She had great ideas about science, but nobody here wanted to listen to her anymore. For a year and a half, humans had come to these meetings. The other aliens called them integration talks. They said the meetings would help decide what job humans could do in the big galaxy family. At first, things seemed good. The aliens smiled and shook hands with the humans. They said nice things about working together. But things changed. The talks got worse and worse. Now the aliens treated humans like children who could not be trusted with sharp knives. The blue alien named Vexhi stood up to talk. He came from a world called Zephyr, and he thought he was very smart. His voice was high and annoying, like a bird that would not stop singing. "The human species shows too much fighting spirit," Vexhi said. His words came through the translation machine in a boring robot voice. "They solve problems with violence first. This makes them dangerous to peaceful worlds." Jake wanted to stand up and tell Vexhi that humans only fought when they had to. But he stayed quiet. Getting angry would only make things worse. The crystal aliens were even more rude. They looked like walking diamonds that caught light and threw it around the room. Their leader made clicking sounds that the computer turned into words. "We question if humans are smart enough for advanced technology," the crystal alien said. "Their brains work in simple ways. They might break important machines or hurt themselves." Dr. Carter's hand squeezed her tablet so hard that Jake worried. It might crack. She had 3 degrees in science and had discovered new ways to travel between stars. But these aliens thought she was too stupid to use their machines. The worst part was what the aliens did when they thought humans could not hear them. They would lean close to each other and whisper. Their voices got very quiet, thinking the translation computers would not pick up their words. But Jake had good ears, and he caught some of what they said. "The humans breed too fast," one alien whispered. "Soon they will want more worlds." "Their ships are getting better," another one said. "We should stop them before they become a real problem." "Maybe we should limit how many weapons they can have," a third alien suggested. Jake felt cold inside when he heard these words. The aliens were not trying to welcome humans into their group. They were planning to keep humans trapped and weak. The meeting got worse when a big alien named Threk stood up. He came from something called the Hegemony Union, and he looked like a giant bug with too many arms. His voice was deep and scary, like rocks falling down a mountain. "We have made a decision about human space travel," Threx announced. "For the safety of all species, humans can only visit 12 star systems. This will keep everyone safe while humans learn to be more peaceful." Jake's heart started beating fast. 12 systems meant humans would be trapped in a tiny corner of space. Earth and its colonies already controlled 15 systems. The aliens wanted to make human space smaller, not bigger. Dr. Carter made a small noise like someone had stepped on her foot. All her research projects needed humans to travel to different worlds. If they could only go to 12 places, her work would become impossible. "We also think human research projects need more watching," Vexhi added with a mean smile. "Human scientists will work with alien teachers who will make sure nothing dangerous happens." This was the last insult. The aliens were treating humans like dangerous animals that needed to be kept in cages. They smiled and used nice words, but their real plan was clear. They wanted to control humans completely. Jake looked around the room at all the alien faces. Some looked happy about the new rules. Others seemed worried, but not worried enough to speak up for humans. None of them saw humans as equals who deserved respect. The meeting ended with the aliens patting themselves on the back for being so wise and careful. They walked out of the room talking and laughing, making jokes about human problems. They acted like humans were not even there. When the room was almost empty, Jake took out a small communication device. It looked like a regular phone, but it could send messages across the galaxy in seconds. He typed a very short message and sent it to Earth. Talks concluded. Recommend Protocol 7. Dr. Carter looked at him with wide eyes. She knew what Protocol 7 meant, even though it was supposed to be secret. It was the plan humans had made in case the aliens ever became too dangerous to trust. Jake put away his communication device and stood up. His face still looked calm, but his eyes were hard, like stones. The other aliens had no idea what they had just started. They thought they were solving the human problem, but they had actually created a much bigger problem for themselves. As Jake and Lisa walked out of the meeting room, neither of them looked back. They had work to do, and not much time to do it. The aliens would learn soon enough that humans were not as weak or stupid as they thought, but by then, it would be too late for the aliens to change their minds. 3 days after Jake Morrison sent his message to Earth, something strange started happening across the galaxy. Humans began to disappear, not all at once, and not in any way that seemed planned. They just quietly packed their things and left. Captain Ryan Foster was loading cargo on his ship Phoenix when his communication device buzzed. The message was short and simple. Family emergency. Return home immediately. Ryan had been a space trader for 20 years. He knew a code when he saw one. Ryan walked to the control room of his ship and started the engines. His alien business partner, a green creature named Zilk, came running over. "Where are you going?" Zilk asked through his translation device. "We have 3 more cargo loads to move today." "Sorry, Zilk," Ryan said, not looking at the alien. "Got to go home. Family problems. But what about our contract?" Zilk's voice got higher and more worried. "The Kepler station managers are expecting those supplies tomorrow." Ryan was already closing the ship's doors. "You'll figure something out. You always do." The Phoenix lifted off from Kepler station and jumped into hyperspace before Zilk could ask any more questions. All around the station, other human ships were doing the same thing. By the end of the day, every human trader, pilot, and worker had left the station. The pattern repeated everywhere humans worked. On research stations, in alien cities, at mining operations, and diplomatic offices, humans packed their personal things and walked away from jobs they had held for years. Dr. Sam Holland worked at a science station near Proxima b. He had spent 8 years studying alien plants and animals with scientists from 6 different worlds. When he got the coded message, he knew what he had to do. Sam went to his computer and started copying all his research files. Years of work, thousands of hours of experiments, detailed notes about alien biology. He uploaded everything to Earth's quantum network, sending it across space in encrypted packages that only humans could read. When the upload finished, Sam did something that would have shocked his alien coworkers. He opened a virus program and let it loose in the station's computers. The virus did not break anything important, but it scrambled all the research data. Files became corrupted. Passwords stopped working. Years of shared scientific work became impossible to access. His partner, Dr. Maria Santos, was doing the same thing in the language department. She had helped create translation programs that let 50 different alien species talk to each other. Now she was deleting all of it. Every dictionary, every grammar rule, every cultural note that made communication possible. The work had taken centuries to complete, with humans, aliens, and computers working together to build bridges between species. In one night, Maria made it all disappear. "Sorry," she whispered to her empty office, "but you made your choice." Across the galaxy, the same scene played out hundreds of times. Human doctors left alien hospitals, taking their medical knowledge with them. Human engineers abandoned construction projects, erasing the plans from computer systems. Human teachers walked out of schools, leaving alien students without anyone who could explain difficult concepts in simple ways. The aliens noticed, but they did not understand what was happening. They thought humans were just having personal problems. Some aliens even felt sorry for the humans and offered to help with their family emergencies. On the trade station orbiting Vega Prime, Alien port controller HFY watched human ships leave one by one. He called his supervisor. All. The human traders are leaving, HFY reported. They say they have family problems. How strange, his supervisor replied. Maybe there was an accident on Earth. Send them our best wishes. But there had been no accident on Earth. There had been a decision. Back on the Galactic Council station, Counselor HFY walked into the human delegation chambers for the next day's meeting. The rooms were empty. Not just empty of people, but empty of everything. Desks, computers, files, personal pictures, coffee machines, even the plants were. HFY called security. Where are the humans? The security chief, a robot with glowing red eyes, reported back quickly. All human personnel departed the station 18 hours ago. They filed proper departure documents and paid all fees. Everything was legal. But why did they leave? HFY asked. They said the talks were finished, the robot replied. HFY felt something cold move through his stomach. The talks were not finished. The council had many more rules to discuss, many more limits to place on human activity. The humans were supposed to sit quietly and accept whatever the council decided. He tried calling Ambassador Morrison but got no answer. He tried calling the human embassy on 12 different worlds. All the communication devices had been disconnected. Other council members started having the same problem. The crystal aliens could not reach their human research partners. The bug-like hegemony union found that human cargo ships had stopped making deliveries. Trade routes that had worked for decades suddenly had no one to run them. Dr. Nelhan, a Nexari scientist, made a disturbing discovery. She was checking the quantum communication network that connected different parts of the galaxy. Human nodes were going dark one by one, not breaking down or being destroyed, just shutting off, as if someone was flipping switches. This is impossible, Dr. Nelhan told her assistant. You cannot just disconnect from quantum entanglement. The physics do not work that way. But somehow, humans were doing exactly that. They were cutting themselves off from galactic civilization in ways that should not have been possible. Within 1 week, it was as if humans had never existed in galactic space. Every human worker, scientist, trader, diplomat, and explorer had vanished. They left behind empty buildings and broken contracts, but no explanations and no way to contact them. The aliens finally realized this was not about family emergencies. This was something much bigger and much more frightening. The humans had not just left their jobs, they had left the galaxy. 6 months passed after the humans left. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. The big chamber felt different now. Before, aliens had talked loudly about important matters. Now their voices were quiet and worried. Counselor Thane swam in his water tank while he gave his report. His fish-like body moved nervously as he spoke. Trade between worlds has gotten much worse. Ships are taking longer to deliver goods. Many cargo routes have stopped working completely. He pressed a button and numbers appeared on the big screen. The numbers were red, which meant bad news. Commerce has dropped by 37% since humans left. We did not know they were carrying so much of our cargo. The other aliens looked at each other with worry. They had thought humans were just one small part of galactic trade. Now they learned that humans had been doing almost half of all shipping. Work. It gets worse, Thane continued. Humans knew secret routes through space that made trips faster and safer. Without them, our ships have to take longer paths. Some routes we cannot use at all. Counselor HFY from the Crystal People stood up next. Her diamond body caught the light and threw rainbows around the room, but her voice sounded scared. Our science projects have almost stopped. We cannot make progress on anything. She showed pictures of empty research stations. Humans were working on 68% of our important experiments. They helped us understand difficult problems. Without them, we cannot figure out how quantum engines work. We cannot improve our weapons. We cannot even fix broken machines properly. The aliens started talking all at once. Their voices mixed together in a sound like frightened birds. How is this possible? Asked a purple alien with tentacles. Humans are primitive creatures. They cannot be that important. We checked the records, HFY replied. Humans were not just helpers. They were leaders on most projects. They had the best ideas and solved the hardest problems. Counselor Vexhai, who had been so proud during the last meeting, now looked sick. His blue skin had turned a pale green color. We have a bigger problem. Our spy networks cannot find the humans anywhere. He showed a map of the galaxy on the main screen. We sent ships to all human worlds. We checked every system where humans had colonies. They are all empty. Empty how? Asked Thane. Not destroyed, not abandoned, empty like they were never there. The planets are clean, the buildings are still standing, but every piece of technology, every computer, every useful thing has been taken away. The chamber became very quiet. Aliens looked at their neighbors with growing fear. Dr. Zethara, the Council's war planner, moved to the center of the room. She was a tall alien that looked like a walking tree with many arms. Each arm held a different computer tablet. I studied how humans fit into our civilization, she said in a voice like wind through leaves. What I found should frighten all of us. She pressed buttons on her tablets, and the big screen filled with red lines connecting different parts of the galaxy. The lines showed trade routes, communication networks, defense systems, and research stations. Every red line shows something humans were involved in, Dr. Zethara explained. Look carefully. The aliens stared at the screen. Red lines were everywhere. They connected almost every world, every station, every important place in the galaxy. The network of red lines was so thick it looked like a spider web made of blood. We called humans primitive, Dr. Zethara continued. But they were holding our civilization together. They were the glue that made everything work. She pressed another button. The red lines started disappearing one by one, showing what happened when humans left. Trade routes broke. Communication systems failed. Defense networks had holes that enemies could use. Without humans, we are not one big galactic civilization anymore. We are just separate worlds that can barely talk to each other. Counselor, Vexhai's voice was shaking when he spoke. How did we not see this? How did humans become so important without us knowing? Because we did not want to see it, Dr. Zethara replied. We thought we were superior. We thought humans needed us more than we needed them. We were wrong. An alien that looked like a giant crab clicked his claws together nervously. Can we bring them back? Can we apologize and ask them to return? We tried, Vexhai said sadly. We sent messages to every place humans used to live. No one answers. It is like the entire human species has vanished from the universe. Thane swam faster in his tank, which meant he was very upset. Our economists say things will get much worse. Food shipments are already late to 12 worlds. The outer rim, colonies might starve if we cannot fix the supply chains. Medical supplies are running low too, added Yexalai. Human doctors created many of our modern medicines. Human researchers developed treatments that saved millions of lives. Without their knowledge, people will die from diseases we thought we had cured. The reality hit the council like a cold wave. They had not just lost trading partners or research helpers. They had lost the species that made their entire way of life possible. There is something else, Dr. Zethara said quietly. Our intelligence. Reports suggest humans did not just leave. They were planning this for a long time, maybe years, maybe decades. She showed spy photos of human facilities in distant systems. These bases were built in secret. We never knew they existed. The humans were preparing for exactly this situation. The council members looked at each other with growing horror. The humans had not just walked away from galactic civilization. They had been ready to leave all along. Every trade deal, every research project, every diplomatic meeting had been part of a bigger plan. What kind of species plans that far ahead? Whispered a small alien in the back. No one had an answer. The council was beginning to understand that they had never really known humans at all. The Galactic Council had never been so scared. Trade was failing. Science had stopped. Whole worlds were running out of food and medicine. They needed to find the humans and fix their mistake. But first they had to admit they had made one. Admiral Kexthor was chosen to lead the search. He was a military commander from the Hegemony Union, the same species as Counselor Threx. His body looked like a giant bug, but his mind was sharp and practical. Unlike other council members, he did not care about pride. He only cared about results. "We made a mistake," Kexthor told his officers during their first meeting. "We treated humans like children, and now we are paying the price. Our job is to find them and bring them back. I do not care how much it costs or how long it takes." The admiral gathered the biggest search fleet in galactic history. Ships from 20 different species joined the mission. Fast scout ships, long-range explorers, deep space scanners, and military vessels. If humans were hiding somewhere in the galaxy, this fleet would find them. The first stop was the Wolf system, where humans had built their largest colony outside of Earth. Admiral Kexthor expected to find empty buildings and broken machines. What he found was much stranger. The planets looked perfect. Cities were clean and undamaged. Roads were smooth. Parks had fresh grass and blooming flowers. But everything useful was gone. Every computer, every vehicle, every piece of machinery had been taken away with incredible care. "It is like someone moved an entire civilization in one day," reported Captain Jilseth, Kexthor's chief scout. "They did not just pack their clothes and leave. They took every screw, every wire, every tool. But they left all the pretty things behind." Kexthor walked through empty human cities with growing amazement. The humans had removed technology so carefully that they did not even damage the walls when they took out the power cables. Whoever planned this operation was incredibly organized and had plenty of time to work. "Sir, you need to see this," called Lieutenant Voxhai from the main government building. He was standing in front of a wall covered with star maps. The maps showed the entire galaxy, but they were different from council maps. Human maps had thousands of small marks in places where the council thought space was empty. Each mark had numbers and symbols that the aliens could not read. "They knew about systems we never discovered," Voxhai said with wonder. "Look at these coordinates. Some of these marks are in areas we thought were impossible to reach." Meanwhile, Commander Yilsath led a search team to the Outer Rim, where human explorers had been mapping new trade routes. What she found made no sense at all. "Admiral, you are not going to believe this report," Yilsath said over the communication system. "We found construction sites, but the construction is gone." "What do you mean gone?" Kexthor asked. "I mean, we can see where huge projects were being built. The ground has been changed. There are foundations for massive structures. Energy readings show incredible amounts of power were used here, but whatever they built has vanished completely." Yilsath sent pictures back to the main fleet. The images showed enormous flat areas where something had been built and then removed. The soil analysis indicated construction materials that the council had never seen before. "How big were these projects?" Kexthor asked. "Some of the foundation areas are 50 kilometers wide," Yilsath replied. "Whatever they built here was bigger than our largest space stations, and there are dozens of these sites." The most disturbing discovery came from Dr. Nelhan, the crystal scientist who had studied quantum communications. She was investigating how humans had disconnected from the galactic network. "Admiral, I found something impossible," Dr. Nelhan reported. Her crystal body was flashing with colors that meant extreme confusion. "The humans did not just unplug from our communication system. They changed the laws of physics." "Explain that in simple words," Kexthor ordered. "Quantum entanglement cannot be broken once it forms. That is basic science. Two particles stay connected forever, no matter how far apart they are. But the humans somehow cut their quantum connections cleanly. They found a way to change how reality works." Dr. Nelhan's report included energy readings that made no sense. The power levels needed to break quantum entanglement should have destroyed entire solar systems. But the humans had done it quietly, without anyone noticing. Reports came in from search teams across the galaxy. Human facilities discovered in dark matter regions where normal ships could not travel. Automated factories operating in dimensions that council science said did not exist. Defense satellites protecting empty space with weapons that used unknown energy sources. "Sir, we found something else," reported Captain Zilmora from the Far Reach sector. "There are structures here that our sensors can barely detect. They exist, but they are not completely in our reality." Kexthor studied the sensor readings from Zilmora's ship. The data showed buildings and machines that flickered in and out of existence. Sometimes the scanners could see them clearly. Sometimes they detected nothing at all. The humans built things that exist in multiple dimensions at once, Zilmora continued. We think they can move their constructions between realities whenever they want. As Admiral Kexthor compiled all the search reports, a terrifying picture became clear. The humans had not spent their time in the galaxy learning to fit in. They had been studying everything, every species, every technology, every weakness. While the Council worried about human aggression, humans had been building a secret civilization that made Council achievements look like toys. They had technologies that bent space and time. They had explored regions of the galaxy no other species knew existed. They had learned to manipulate the basic forces of reality itself. We were not containing them, Kexthor told the Council in his final report. They were studying us. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade deal, every scientific collaboration was intelligence gathering on a scale we never imagined. The Admiral paused, letting his words sink in. The humans did not leave because we made them angry. They left because they had learned everything they needed to know about us. We were never their equals. We were their research subjects. 2 years after the humans vanished, something appeared on the long-range sensors that made every alien in the galaxy hold their breath. The humans were coming back. But these were not the same humans who had left. The first sign was a ripple, in space near the Council station. Not the familiar flash of hyperspace that everyone knew, but something new. Reality seemed to bend and twist like looking at the bottom of a clear pond when the water moves. Then the ships appeared. Admiral Kexthor was on duty when the sensors started screaming warnings. He rushed to the command center and stared at readings that made no sense. The human fleet was massive beyond anything in his worst nightmares. "How many ships?" he asked his sensor operator. "I cannot count them, sir," the operator replied with a shaking voice. "The fleet stretches beyond our scanner range. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands." But it was not just the number of ships that frightened Kexthor. It was their size. Individual, human vessels were longer than the biggest Council space stations. They moved through space like living things flowing around obstacles that were not even there. The ships looked nothing like the human designs in Council databases. Their hulls bent light around them in impossible ways, making them hard to look at directly. They seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions, shifting between realities as they traveled. "Sir, we are receiving a communication request," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Kexthor ordered, though his voice was not as steady as he wanted it to be. The main screen flickered, and Ambassador Jake Morrison appeared. But this was not the same man who had left 2 years ago. His eyes held depths that spoke of knowledge gained at terrible cost. When he looked at the camera, it felt like he was seeing through time itself. "This is Ambassador Morrison requesting permission to address the Galactic Council," Jake said. His voice sounded the same, but there was something underneath it now. Something that made even Admiral Kexthor feel small. "Permission granted," Kexthor replied. "The Council is waiting." An hour later, Jake Morrison walked into the Council chambers. The room was packed with representatives from every species in the galaxy. Some had traveled for weeks to be here. Everyone wanted to see what the humans had become. Jake looked exactly as he had 2 years ago, but his presence filled the entire chamber. When he spoke, his words seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You wanted to know what humanity would become given time and freedom," Jake began. "You chose to limit us, to contain us, to treat us as a threat instead of a partner. So we left to show you the difference." The lights dimmed, and holographic star maps appeared around the chamber. But these were not the maps the Council knew. These showed star systems beyond the edge of known space, reaching into regions that Council science said were empty. Human colonies dotted the display in numbers that made Council worlds look like tiny villages. Industrial complexes floated in dark matter regions that normal ships could not reach. Cities built inside folded space that existed in multiple dimensions at once. "We spent these 2 years building," Morrison continued. "Not just ships and weapons, but an entire civilization free from your limitations. We touched corners of reality you never dreamed existed. We made friends with species you never knew were there. We unlocked secrets of the universe that your narrow thinking could never reach. Counselor Vexai stood up on shaking legs. How is this possible? 2 years ago, you were barely capable of interstellar travel. Jake smiled, and the expression was both kind and terrifying. 2 years ago, we were pretending to be barely capable. We have been traveling between stars for much longer than you know. We have been exploring dimensions you cannot see. We have been learning from teachers you have never met. The holographic display changed, showing human ships traveling through what looked like tunnels in space itself. The vessels moved faster than light without using any technology the Council recognized. While you held your meetings and made your rules, we were students in schools you never knew existed, Jake explained. Reality has many layers, Counselor Vexai. You have been living on just one of them. Dr. Nell Han, the crystal scientist, flickered with confused colors. The quantum entanglement breaks, the dimensional constructions, the impossible energy, readings. How long have you been able to do these things? Since before we met you, Jake replied. Humans have always been good at learning. When we discovered we were not alone in the universe, we decided to learn everything we could. Your species were excellent teachers even when you did not know you were teaching. The chamber erupted in frightened voices as council members realized what Jake was saying. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every scientific collaboration had been a lesson for humanity. The aliens had been sharing their secrets while thinking they were in control. But we did not come back for revenge, Jake said, and the chamber fell silent. We came back to make you an offer. The same offer you should have made to us years ago. True partnership. Not integration into your system, but cooperation between equals. He gestured to the displays showing human achievements. This is what humanity becomes when you do not try to cage us. We can share this knowledge with you. We can work together to explore realities beyond your imagination. We can help you become more than you ever thought possible. Jake's expression grew serious. Or you can choose to remain as you are, locked in your fear, while we continue to grow beyond your understanding. The choice is yours. Admiral Kexthor looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. Some looked hopeful. Others looked terrified. All of them looked very, very small. What do you want from us? Kexthor asked. Respect, Jake replied simply. Recognition that humans are not your subjects or your problems to solve. We are your neighbors in a universe bigger than any of us can imagine alone. The massive human fleet waited in space around the station, not as a threat, but as a promise. They showed what could be achieved when fear was replaced by trust, when cooperation replaced control. The Council faced a choice that would determine their future. They could evolve past their prejudices and join humanity in exploring the infinite possibilities of existence. Or they could remain trapped in their small corner of reality, while humans continued to grow beyond their comprehension. The age of human containment was over. The age of human partnership was about to begin.